Welcome back, trainers. Look who made it. We have Mewtwo here from the Trainer Team Series, Series 5. So if you've been keeping tabs with me, then you saw that Mewtwo and RAIKOU went live on the Target app for pre-order the same day that SUICUNE and TYRANITAR did also. But man, I am so excited to crack this open and see what he has. I can already tell that there is a posable, bendable tail, kind of like what we saw with Articuno, and that's going to work out so well for this figure. So let's not delay any longer. Let's get this going. Okay, I am so pumped about this. So this is our last figure that we needed within Series 5 of this Trainer Team series, which is a Target exclusive. And I believe if you're in Canada, these are also showing up at your GameStops. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where I believe I've been seeing them. You can see there's some beautiful illustration of Mewtwo right there, striking a pose. On the backhand side, we have the rest of the figures released in Series 5, and I have already reviewed all of them. So if you have not checked those out, be sure to give them a watch. I mean, they're great videos. I had a lot of fun doing them. As always, here is the barcode and the Target DPCI to help you track this down in store. I will also be posting this link on the Target app in my description below. Man, this figure is intense. I had some time to mess with him off camera, and I think he has probably the most points of articulation out of all the figures in this line, but if not, then it's definitely a close second. It is so crazy to me that these figures are still $20. I mean, for what you're getting for this price point, I mean, I could gush about it all day long, but there's a lot of value to this, and, you know, let alone it being a very popular Pokemon like Mewtwo. So, I mean, there's just so much win to this already. They've definitely stepped up their game compared to Series 1 with the quality of these figures. I mean, just the articulation is fantastic. I mean, I spent so much time playing with this off camera. Here's another awesome pose of it. I tried to somewhat mimic that Pokemon Go full art card, but this is so wild. I mean, having the articulated stand is so great because you can get Mewtwo elevated in some of these more like dynamic poses, and it just looks so intense. I mean, this tail is crazy long, and like just the entire proportion to it is like so thick. So let's get right into this. I'd like to start with the head and the face paint. Now the head looks great, the sculpting looks awesome, as well as the paint applications. Now with the history of Mewtwo, there is many renditions of this character. So beginning with Mewtwo Strikes Back, and then we have Super Smash Bros, Pokemon Journeys, Detective Pikachu, and Pokemon Go. All of these structure the character how it normally looks from the games and the TCG. However, there are some slight differences, you know, between all of them. And, you know, this version of Mewtwo, when I look at this figure, I get, you know, a lot of Pokemon Go vibes, especially when I'm looking at it head on. And then from the side, you know, I'm getting some traditional Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and maybe a little bit from Pokemon Journeys. I mean, this looks so killer. I love this profile. You could utilize this figure in so many different themes or, you know, setups in your collection, you know, whether you're a Pokemon Go fan, Smash fan, or whatever. With that being said, I'd like to show you a comparison of our SH Figuarts Mewtwo compared to the Trainer Team series. Now, you can see there are big differences between them. You know, this sculpt here has more of that, I would say, Mewtwo Strikes Back from the first movie look, and even maybe some Super Smash Bros. Melee, Brawl, and Ultimate. In fact, a big difference you can see is our Trainer Team series has a little bit of a wider head compared to SH Figuarts is a little bit more narrow. That's where I think I got those Pokemon Go vibes from with the Trainer Team series, since it does have a little bit of a wider head. It closely resembles that Mewtwo from the game. While we're here at the head, let's jump right into articulation. So it is on a ball joint, and there's also a hinge here at the neck. Now, this tube can actually come out from the back of the head, and this will allow you to position the head, you know, in any, you know, direction that you want without it giving you any resistance, and then you can just place the tube right back in there and keep him in that pose. Notice how much I have him looking to the left. So this tube can go in pretty far to the back of his head, so I can just kind of push that in there just like so. So the reason why I recommend you taking it out first is because if I push this in all the way and then I try to have him look to the left, it's going to kind of move his head back into that neutral spot. So that's why I prefer to take it out, move the head, then place it back in, and that will give you even better range of motion. I'm going to take this out to show you the rest of the articulation. So it seems like it is on a ball joint here at the base of the head, and you also have that hinge, so we can take the head, spin it all the way around, and then we can obviously droop the head all different directions. So there is a hinge here, and there's also a swivel here at the top of the chest. So with all these joints combined, I mean, you can get some crazy range of motion with this head. This is wild. Here is a better look at the paint apps to the eyes. They look fantastic, nice and symmetrical, crisp and clean, and he has that very aggressive, intimidating look on his face. Let's move down to the shoulders and the arms. So there is a lot going on over here. Man, we have a hinge, a swivel, another swivel here at the upper part of the bicep, double joints at the elbow, we have a hinge and swivel at the wrist, and then individual hinge joints at the fingertips. That is unreal. So you can pretty much get any pose you want out of these arms. This is crazy. So the shoulders can go up about that high at the base of the shoulder, and then obviously you can spin that entire shoulder around, and then you can spin the bicep around, and then here at the elbow we have those double joints, so you can independently move them. So starting at the one at the lower part of the bicep, you can bring it up at a full 90 degrees, and then you have even more flexion there. You can take this bottom part below the elbow and basically fold this arm entirely on itself. That is crazy. But that's not all. We're not done yet. Below the elbow we have a hinge and a swivel at this wrist, so we can flex it forward and get some crazy poses out of that, and we can flex it backwards also. And then you can see we can also rotate it to 360 degrees. And it's so funny, like as I'm like holding this figure and, you know, doing all these different things, I'm getting cool poses out of it by just messing around. This is awesome. Then at the hand, we have a hinge, and there is a little baby swivel on these fingertips at the base right here. So we can take each fingertip and open them up a good amount. We can basically almost all the way hyperextend each one of them. Looks like this middle one will give us the most movement here, and that is great. And then we should be able to take each little finger and get some rotation out of it also. Let's jump down a little bit to the body. So we have two joints. We have one right above the waist and then right at the chest here. And it seems like it is a ball joint, so we can definitely twist from side to side. I could probably, I can spin him all the way around, and then we can move him forwards and backwards. Not a crazy amount just because that chest plate kind of gets in the way. But here at the waist, we can move Mewtwo a good amount. So this is where we're going to get most of our movement, you know, leaning forward or leaning backwards, and we still have the ability to go left and right. We might be able to go all the way around here as well, and yes we can. So crazy amount of articulation here between the chest plates and here at the waist. At the legs, it seems like we have a swivel there, and that's about it. I mean, it looks like there's another joint that might allow us to move kind of up and down this way, but there's no significant motion, you know, moving the legs inwards or outwards. So the greatest movement is going to be, you know, bringing it forward, and it looks like we can probably bring it all the way around on both sides. That is crazy. As we make our way on down, you can see we have plenty more hinge joints. I do get a little bit of movement from side to side, and so we have a hinge here which will allow Mewtwo to bring this first joint backwards about that far, and then we can move it forward about a neutral position, and then just below that we have our other hinge, and we can get basically those same types of movement. And we also have another one here at the toe joint. So with all of these combined, I mean, you can get some good stances out of him. I mean, this is great. Typically he's going to be standing on these toes right here, but you can really widen his stance with all these joints combined. So I messed with them a little bit more off camera, and these are swivel joints here, and I should be able to spin each of these segments all the way around, and I can. So that first one up there on the knee is no problem, and here at the ankle I should be able to get the same amount of treatment just like so. I typically don't like to spin my joints all the way around, but you know, if I'm doing a demonstration for, you know, a review video, then I will, just to show y'all, because I like to keep them more intact and not to loosen them up too much. Now that leaves us with probably the best for last. I don't know, I'll let y'all decide that. But we have a swivel at the base of the tail, and this entire thing is bendable, and you can move this in all different directions just like Articuno. I mean, there is a bendable wire in there, so for the most part, whatever your heart desires, you can get this tail into whatever position. But most of the movement seems like it's going to be about from here to about here. So for example, let's try to see if I can make like the letter Z out of this, just to show you how bendable this thing really is. So here is Sesame Street, the letter Z. But jokes aside, I do love this tail. Ever since they implemented it with Articuno, I mean, this is just such a nice feature and touch to have. I mean, especially since you're adding two different elements to a toy. You know, you have this, you know, kind of rubber wire material, and then you're putting it to a entirely plastic body, you know, that's crazy. It's probably kind of expensive, honestly. But Mewtwo can stand no problem, and you can use this as a counterbalance. And honestly, that's probably going to be the best way to get this figure to stand on its own without the stand, because I mean, this tail is just pretty hefty and it adds a lot of weight, so he's going to fall backwards if you don't use it as a counterbalance. And for those of you wondering, you're going to need to do the exact same thing for the SH Figuarts Mewtwo. You need to use the tail as a counterbalance to get him to stand on his own, otherwise he's just going to fall backwards. And that's just due to the nature of Mewtwo's design. I mean, it's a very unique Pokemon, and to have this tail, I mean, that adds a lot of weight to any figure, so they're going to fall backwards. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. But they did a great job adding more articulation to the tail so you can use it as a counterbalance, and obviously including the articulated stand. And you know, I'd rather have more authenticity to the figure rather than functionality, but they were able to achieve both. I mean, this is a tremendous figure. I'm very impressed with this. I'm actually curious to see how long this tail really is. We'll do two different measurements. We'll do one at the base of the body, and then we'll do a second one here at the swivel. So from the base of the body to the tip, I would say we're looking at about, oh my gosh, like almost about 10 inches. That is crazy. And then if we're doing just the swivel, so from this swivel joint here to the tip, we're shaving off about 2 inches, so we're looking at about 7 3/4. And that is wild, because Pokedex has Mewtwo standing at 6 feet 7 inches, so this tail is longer than the entire length of Mewtwo. We'll do the rest of the measurements. So again, 6'7" should be Mewtwo's height, and we are looking at, oh man, over 6 inches. I would say, man, almost 6 1/4, which is great because that means Mewtwo is almost perfectly in scale, maybe just a little bit taller, and he would be perfectly in scale. Here is a neutral 6-inch figure, and you can see that Mewtwo is definitely taller than him, so this looks great. I mean, he's basically in scale, and I know a lot of fans are going to be super happy about this. And with length of the arm stretched out, so finger to finger, I would say we're looking at about, oh man, about 6.5 inches long. Let's talk about comparisons. So the only figure that can compete with this Trainer Team series is going to be the SH Figuarts version. There are massive differences between these two figures, so starting with price, I paid about $65 for this figure a few years ago, and the Trainer Team series is in the $20 price range. Another big difference is going to be height. Our Trainer Team series is way more in scale compared to the SH Figuarts version. When it comes to articulation, these figures are virtually the same. However, our Trainer Team series does have some more joints here at the legs, which can add some more posability. The tails have incredible range of motion, and you can see they are completely different. The SH Figuarts went with segments all throughout the entire tail, whereas the Trainer Team series went with a bendable wire. And this looks a lot cleaner, and I would definitely prefer this tail over the SH Figuarts version. The joints to the SH Figuarts is very tight and seamless. You can see there's not exposed pins, but the Trainer Team series has been implementing some of that themselves. You can see here at the knees and the torsos, there is no exposed joints. And if you saw my Tyranitar video, then you can see that the legs and the tail are also seamless. So Jazzwares is definitely making improvements there. Both figures come with stands, and they need them if you do not use the tail as a counterbalance. Again, that's just due to the nature of Mewtwo's design. So I have to give massive credit to Jazzwares and their team for creating a $20 figure that can stand toe-to-toe, no pun intended, to a $65, $70 figure. That is just insane, the amount of value you are getting here for $20. At last, we have our entire Series 5 completed. I reviewed all of these figures, so if there's a particular one that you're looking for and you want to watch, I have them on my channel. But I'm loving the variety we're getting, a lot of popular Pokemon, and we have Series 6 well on the way. Before we wrap up, I want to show you something pretty cool. So this is the Mew from Jazzwares also, and Pokedex has Mew at 1 foot 4 inches, which is crazy small, like if you think about it in real life. And this Mew from bottom of the foot to the top is measuring about 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit under, which is mind-blowing because if you think about it, these two are in scale with each other, basically perfect. And the rest of our 6-inch figures.
Man, oh man, what a figure this Mewtwo is. So let's break it down, my final thoughts on it. The price point is $21.99, which is insane, especially when you stack it up against an SH Figuarts, which is in the $65 to $70 range. These two figures are so close in comparison that it's hard to believe that you're getting all of this Mewtwo for still $21.99. So that right there, in and out of itself, makes it a no-doubter to add to your collection. And not to mention, I mean, it is almost perfectly in scale with our other 6-inch figures, and it matches up perfectly with the little Mew figure also. One of the best features to this Mewtwo is that tail. I'm so happy that they went with like that rubber type of material with the wire throughout. I mean, that's going to add so much more posability, and I prefer it over like the individual segments, because with the wire, I mean, it makes the figure look a lot cleaner, more true to the character. The sculpting, the paint applications, and the proportions look great. I guess the only thing, if I had to add something to this figure, is let's make the joints a little bit tighter and stiff. That way they're less susceptible to getting loose over time. I would say this wave is the best we've had so far in the Trainer Team series. Every single figure is a home run. I'm also super confident you're gonna love each and every one of them in your collection. I also feel like this is a figure we're gonna look back on in, 10, 20 years, and just like SUICUNE, and people are gonna be like, wow, I can't believe that was $20. Like, I wish I could get it now for $20. So don't sleep on this figure. If you see it in store, definitely grab it. You're gonna love it. Thank you so much for watching this video and hanging out with me. I hope it was helpful for you. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram to stay up to date when new things drop, like this Mewtwo, RAIKOU, and eventually Entei down the line. I also post toy photography and toy videos. As always, if you like this video and you want to see more of it, be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see y'all in the next video.